We're here on the beautiful Crystal River today with Bruce Hood. Bruce is a high school teacher at the Leavenworth Schools, and he's also a biologist who works for the Glen Lake Association. Good day, Bruce.
Hi, Laura.
So I understand you did a study on the Crystal River this summer. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure can. Rob gave me the opportunity to study aquatic insects on the Crystal this summer, and I snapped at the opportunity. It was awesome. Something I love to do.
Great. And what were you looking for?
So aquatic insects are a really good indicator of water quality, and it's also a quick way to take a check, sort of check the health of the river. And so I was looking for usually immature insects. They spend part of their life cycle in the water, and just taking 10 different sample sites and collecting a broad range of habitat types to see what's in there.
And how do insects indicate the health of the river?
Well, insects, just because of their nature, they're living in water, they're oxygen-breathing animals, and so they have to get it through their skin or through pores, things like that, and so they're really intimately tied to the medium that they're in. So if anything changes in the water, they're highly sensitive to those changes, and so we look for species that indicate good quality of water.
Have we done any studies like this in the past?
There have been a couple, yep. Most recently, the Glen Lake Association hired an intern to study the crystal and do pretty much the same kind of study that I was doing, so I used their data. And previous to that, when they did the survey to find out the impacts of water levels and thermal changes on the Crystal River, they did the same type of study. And then there were a couple studies done before that, along with some Shelter Creek and Platte River. They were included in that study as well. So we have some good baseline data.
So how do you catch these insects?
Well,
Do you have any equipment to show?
yeah, you bet. It's fun. We get to use a couple different things. One of the main things that I used was called a kick net. And so it's just basically a 1 meter square net with a specific mesh size that's there to catch most of the insects that we're interested in. And so we put this in the water and let the current we would use the current to our advantage. So we'd go around upstream up here and turn rocks over and rub them off. And so anything that was attached to the rocks or in the sand or in the vegetation will flow in the current, get caught in the net, and we lift the net up, and then we pull everything out that we catch.
You kind of flush them out?
So we kind of flush them out, yep. And we can kind of be a little careful about how much area we sample so that we can get an idea of how many insects there are in a specific area.
And once you catch them, what do you do with them?
So we take them back to the lab, and this time we kept everything that we caught, so that we could actually get a count and find out just how abundant are these animals. And then we take them back to the lab and we identify them under a microscope using keys that have been around forever and use very basic body characteristics to tell us what they are. And we identify them down to their family.
Great.
Yeah.
So after your study, what do you conclude about the health of the Crystal River?
Well, as we kind of suspected going in, Crystal River I think is in great shape, and the studies previous to this kind of supported that as well. The species that we found and the ones that are of most interest are the ones that we call a low tolerance insects, so that they can't tolerate much thermal pollution or organic pollution. And those guys are here, which is a great sign, great indicator. In some places they're in great abundance, in other places they're there, but maybe not quite so many of them.
How often do you recommend we repeat this kind of study?
I would love to do it often. It's one of my favorite things to do, and because the crystal is in such good shape, it's always good to keep a resource in that pristine good shape. And that's much easier than trying to recover from any kind of incident. So I think monitoring it regularly is a really good idea. So regardless of if you suspect changes, that's fine, but keeping a close eye on it would be a really recommended thing, I think. Especially because the Glen Lake Association and the river riparians are so interested in this resource.
So will this information be shared with the Friends of the Crystal River and the Glen Lake
I
Association
hope so.
and the
I
riparians?
submitted it to my boss, and what they get to do with it after that is up to them. But yeah, I think it's ready. It's been through a couple edits, and lots of eyes have looked at it, and so I think it's ready. I've turned it in, and I think it's the final. I hope it's the final draft. We'll see.
Anything else we should know about the Crystal River?
Other than that, it's just a really special resource. It's really delicate, I think. It has some robustness to it, but it's in everybody's interest to keep it in the state that it's in, because it's so unique. We have the Platte, we have Shelter Creek, but This runs through Glen Arbor, it runs through Park, it runs into Lake Michigan in a real populated area. It's just so special that I think all the interest and investment that's going into it is really important.
Well, it's been great to talk to you today,
Yeah,
Bruce.
it's good to
Thank
see
you
you.
for
Thanks.
your time.
You bet. You bet. This is fun.
Keep up the good work.
Thank you.